I think by this point, if you're someone who's a seasoned campaigner, you should know that ups and downs are going to happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that have happened at Red Bull, people have made it all about this guy left, that guy left. Ultimately, everything is wrong. Horner scandal, this, that. No.
Hmm.
Ultimately, it comes down to the car. Wrong decisions were made. They were made, by the way, in 2023,
Yep.
Spain. You know who
Yep.
was part of the team at the time and who was
Knew it.
part of the development? Adrian Newey.
Initial reaction was it wasn't all that kind of unexpected. To be honest, it was expected at
You've
some
been
point.
talking about it quite a bit.
Yeah, I
Actually,
mean,
yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it now. I thought it would come at the end of the season,
Mhm.
but it did seem like it was getting to a decision between do you keep Horner or do you keep Verstappen? And the reason it was becoming more and more expected is we were hearing that essentially the board was kind of having more and more control. And boards in Formula One tend to do really, really stupid things
Yeah.
because they think in 3 month timelines. And when you're thinking in 3 month timelines, keeping Verstappen makes sense. But if you're thinking like, okay, let's think of the 5 to 10 year future of this team, then obviously the decision is you pick Horner. So, and I've seen this in all of my comments on anything I've put today. It's like, if the decision's Horner and Verstappen, you obviously pick Verstappen. I'm like, sure, for the next 6 months. But like, if we're talking the next
What
six
after that?
years,
Yeah.
yeah, like if we're talking the next 6 years, Verstappen's probably not going to be there in 6 years, regardless of what happens. So, like,
1 year.
yeah, well, like even if they turn things around and won a couple more championships, in 6 or 7 years he's gone anyway. So what then? You know what I mean? So you're picking the short term solution, and it's unlikely that that's the case. But yeah, I've kind of seen this coming because the board seems, and honestly, it's. We'll talk about this, I guess, in a while. But honestly, it seems like 2022 they've been making rasher and rasher decisions, and it's just caused this headbutting, and
Yeah.
it's kind of it was inevitably going to crack because it's a war that unless Horner got a ton of people in with a ton of money to buy it, he wasn't going to win in the long term anyway. Unless the Thai
Seems like
side,
it, yeah.
yeah, unless the Thai side really wanted to go to war, and they really just seemed like we don't really care that much about like if the racing team's making us money, fine. If it's not, then we don't care. Like get rid of it, whatever. So yeah, what's your thoughts on this?
Um, yours was Verstappen. That was my
Yeah,
first
yeah,
thought.
yeah, yeah.
And just to put all the cards on the table, the news was broken by a Dutch outlet. You
It
know the
wasn't
name.
Eric, was it?
Yeah, the name Eric. The
Of course.
EVH
Yeah, of
initials,
course
you
it
know.
was. Well, that
It
yeah,
was broken by that. And it was broken 15 minutes before the official announcement was made. Then you had another particular article which had exclusive Red Bull quotes. They were again first published by that particular publication. Then Max Verstappen's manager, again in those 15-minute intervals, then it was the Max Verstappen manager giving his take on what had happened. It's unless you're fucking dumb, you know what's going on
well, I
here.
mean, doesn't that just back up exactly what I just said, which is that yeah, it's just the board thinking short term again. They think that keeping the driver is a better decision than keeping the
Jos
team
Verstappen
together.
and Helmut Marko won the battle. It's as simple as that. And looking at the way they've gone about it, look, for me, what I thought again, Auto Motor and Sport AMUS, they had reported a few weeks back that the Verstappen family had given an ultimatum that it was either going to be Max, either it was going to be Max and the whole thing, or Horner.
Yeah,
Seems
yeah,
like so my first reaction when ultimately the whole thing kind of settled down, my I kind of started putting the pieces together, and you can see it happen. Canada was the first weekend when it came out that there were conversations. Then George also admitted that this was going to happen. Then
yeah,
you had the Italian publication saying that Max has expressed interest, he's almost on the verge of signing. And then you have this come out. It's not a coincidence that all of these things are happening. What I would be keen to look at is whether Max ultimately reaffirms his commitment to Red Bull, or it is still up in the air because he hasn't made it official. The announcement, they've said they'll make it around the summer break. Now the
yeah.
summer break is, it could either he could go to Mercedes, or he could stick around at Red Bull.
Because Mercedes have now apparently as well had full sign off from the board of the actual Mercedes company
No,
to say
that's an utter rubbish report. That's
it's not
from
real, is it
Gazzetta.
not?
That's from La
Okay.
Gazzetta. And
Okay.
when a report is from there, unless and until it's for Ferrari, it's utter garbage.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I
As
was on the
simple as
road
that.
this morning and I saw it kind of briefly on
Yeah.
Twitter. So,
Yeah,
okay.
102 million buyout, and it's like, who are you kidding? Who are you
Okay.
kidding here?
Interesting,
And
yeah.
yeah, that is an utter rubbish report.
Yeah, I mean, look, it could well be true, but it's very unlikely given it's from
It
that.
could be. It
you
could
know.
be until and unless
just an
someone else
unlikely
picks up on
source.
it and
Yeah.
reply and actually, confirms that this is something that is happening. I'm not going to take their word for it. Especially
like-
when it comes to something where they have zero sources. They have zero
Yeah.
sources at either Mercedes or with Max.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if I had to make a pick, I would say that the Verstappens have won.
Yeah.
And what that means is Max is going to stay at Red Bull. I also want to see that does this mean that Max has made a commitment that all the exit clauses are gone? If the board is smart, they look. They're stupid. First of all, it is an utterly foolish decision that they've made. I'll look. Let's get one
Every
thing straight.
decision they've made since we'll probably talk about this more with the Red Bull future, but like every
Yeah.
decision they've made since 2022 has been utterly ridiculous
Utterly
in many
foolish,
senses.
utterly
Yeah.
foolish, utterly
Short-term.
short-sighted,
All short-term.
and
Yeah.
everything is short-term. And look, the racing wisdom tells you to do entirely opposite thing. They've outdone Ferrari. This is how foolish this decision is. You know why? Ferrari, you have Fred Visser, who is on the verge of losing his job as well, by the way. And he is on the verge of losing his job after going 3 years without a title. You know, when was the last time Horner won the title? 6 months back.
Yes.
And he's been fired when he won the title 6 months back. Try to make sense of this. He was
problem
fired
with this-
6 months after he won the title.
The problem with all of this is that, like, right, I've constantly seen it on my YouTube channel, on this YouTube channel, on Twitter, constantly. A lot of people with Dutch flags and Jos Verstappen photos, basically thinking
No,
that
you're not Jos Verstappen.
no
one
I
has.
know, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Everyone has that
But yeah.
level of self-respect. They're not
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to put his photo.
But like,
I mean, if you do, by the way, if you are there,
comment
it's all
below.
right.
We want to see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just all of them have essentially tied the entire quote unquote downfall of this team to Christian Horner, right? And I can't help but just continuously see and continuously reiterate that, first of all, it's not been a massive, like everyone's talking about this huge like drop off downfall. McLaren got faster. They were backed into a corner in the last season of a regulation set. That's what happened. That is not a massive, like that is not a Ferrari or McLaren level downfall. That is literally one other team did a better
McLaren
job
is
in a
not
season.
there, Max Verstappen is winning the title again this season.
In both this season as well, like without issue. So McLaren jumped ahead. Like, look where Mercedes are. The team that, by the way, everyone's like clamoring, Max should go to Mercedes. Mercedes, who neither of the drivers are ahead of Max and don't seem to understand where their fucking car is weekend to weekend. So even if they get a good engine, it's no guarantee that they beat McLaren, for example, as we've discussed on this. So this quote unquote downfall has been massively overblown. And also it's brought about because they're like, yeah, well, look where the second driver is. It's clearly just Max in the car. Because the car has been built towards Max constantly, which it has been. But also they had to push even further in that direction because of McLaren catching up and the time limit left. So they didn't have the option to go, well, let's build a nice balance. It's like, no, we need to get a car that Max can win it. The second thing is, if you really want to blame someone, you have to blame the board because it's not even Horner that's caused this, as I said, downfall. Horner has his part in it, sure, but all of this was from 2022 when it got taken over by, after Dietrich died. The board obviously wanted to get more and more control. Then Helmut kind of joined in with them, the Austrian board. And the board didn't at any point when there was this, scandal with Horner, didn't at any point go, we should keep this under wraps. They leveled on. Jos went into the papers. They backed on behind them.
Okay, now that's where actually I wanted to touch on, because a lot of people have no idea the kind of things that go on in the Formula One world. The amount of sex scandals that don't make it to the news You have no. It's an everyday thing. Okay, just some. Just pulling the curtain a bit. Every day, almost every publication is reached out by someone from a Formula One team regarding some scandal or the other.
Yep.
We've been at Sportskeeda, we've also had this. And
Hmm.
the reason why those don't get published is because, first of all, it's not ethical.
Hmm.
Second of all, we are not at the luxury of investigating those things and putting it out as clearly as possible, right? And
Yep.
we can also get, yeah, there are clear
You
cease and
need
desist letters we actually get.
you need very reputable sources to publish
Exactly.
something like that without having
Yeah.
severe blowback, especially from a
Exactly.
company like Red Bull, who could literally sue a publication into the ground if it hasn't followed those things. Journalists can kind
Did
of
Telegraph,
say,
okay, let's talk. Did
well,
Telegraph,
journalists can say
did-
things, but they have to have something to back them up. You've got
Yeah.
journalistic freedom as long as you're not just making things up. And if you can't get a proper source, then a company like
have
that's
to
going
reveal
to
the source in that case as well. If
Yeah,
you're
like a
making
company like that's
something
gonna destroy you.
slanderous,
Yeah,
you have to reveal
so-
the sources.
The reason that all got out into the public is because the board and Yoss decided to put it out in the public.
No, Yoss, and okay, there are two publications that
Maybe not
came
the
out.
board, but
Not the
someone
board.
in Red Bull.
The two publications came out from that very day when the whole thing broke out. There are only two publications that made their way.
It's the
and
Telegraph,
spread the
right?
news.
And
The Telegraph and the F1 Insider.
Mhm.
Go and check the affiliation of where both of those publications are, because I did on that very day when that happened, and since then I've followed the whole thing.
yeah,
It's basically one side, and look, maybe, and a lot of people have a lot of things to say, why Newey left, why Jonathan Wheatley left, etc., etc. There are reasons behind it, but the biggest thing is the reason why all those things kept coming back into the news again and again and again. Why that leak happened, why the evidence was out in the public. It had nothing to do with Honor. It came out from the other party. Now, whichever that other party is, you're smart enough to know that.
so look,
Only
the-
one
the-
only one destabilizing factor was there, and it was not Honor.
and look, the thing is, this is not to back up because I know Horner got cleared, but that said, we don't know whether he did what they said he did or not. We don't know any of that. So my point is, this is not to back up Horner and say that he's
Yeah.
this great guy that we. My point is,
He's a
clearly,
prick. First of all, he's a prick. The way
and most of these
we have
guys
no
are.
idea. Look, first of all, we have no idea how what his thing was with whoever the concerned person was. The
Yeah.
thing is, he's a married person with kids.
Yeah.
So whatever that conduct was, it's unbecoming of a husband, at least on a very very basic level.
Look,
So
yeah,
it's
and
not
this
like
is
we
the
are
thing. If we want to get into this, is the problem is like what I'm saying here is I'm not talking about like the personalities
character.
here, but
Yeah.
if we're just talking in terms of just running a Formula One team pragmatically, forgetting about all of the personal insights and so on, right? The reason that was thrust into the limelight, and the reason when it was thrust into the limelight, the board didn't kind of try and fucking calm things down, is
Yeah.
because clearly there was, as we all know, that
the
political
lead
power
driver's
play.
father
and-
was running rampant.
yeah,
That
and there was
the
this
whole thing.
political power play of the board
Yeah.
wanted more control after 2022, all of these things. And essentially, I think, like, you can call a lot of that the reason for Newey specifically moving on is, sure, he may, like, there may be some truth to he wasn't happy with what Horner was doing.
Yeah.
Sure. There probably was. But he also probably was more unsettled with the fact that all of a sudden Red Bull was essentially in the center of a telenovela, something that, like, Newey just
He doesn't
doesn't
like.
like to be into those things. So I think if that had have been handled under the radar, it would have been a calm conversation between Newey and Horner, and Newey probably wouldn't have left.
Yeah.
So a lot of it, like, you can blame Horner all the time, but a lot of this is Yoss and then the board not doing its job because it's all short-term thinking. They are probably thinking to themselves, right, well, Yoss is going off on one and this actually helps us because if Horner goes, we get more
Yours has a
control.
personal vendetta against Honor. That's
Yeah.
why he has
Which-
it. It's not public knowledge. It will come out maybe soon. But
Okay.
there are some stuff that are there. It's just, look, what ultimately it comes down to is there was a political battle and one side won.
Yeah.
Now, what we need to see from here is,
And they were always
how-
going to win regardless. It was just a matter
Yeah.
of time. you know?
Exactly. And
So-
Horner tried to hold on to it as much as he could. Look, there are a lot of things I've seen, but if there is someone who has won you 14 titles in 20 years and you think you're going to fire him and then things are going to work well, you're in for a surprise, and they are in
It's
for a
just, but
surprise.
it's
It's
just
utterly foolish.
this has never worked out. Like I don't know why. Like I see it not like I get why I see it from. For example, there was a YouTube comment on a video I put out a week ago or something where I talked about how the Verstappens were potentially. I think it was a clip from a video saying that the Verstappens were potentially trying to push Horner out, and I said how short-sighted it was and all this. And one of the comments was, Red Bull is so big, the team principal does nothing anyway. Like, what are you talking about?
Was
right?
it backstage?
No. This was someone, just a random commenter who happened to have a Dutch name on my YouTube video.
Yeah.
Because I immediately saw the name. I was like, oh, okay, I wonder where this guy's from. No offense, Dutch people, but it seems to be the running trend. But yeah, like, it's just anyone who thinks that as a fan on Twitter, I'm kind of like, yeah, fair enough. People think these stupid things all the time.
Yeah.
For Red Bull to think like this, having literally watched Ferrari fall from existence, like having literally seen how much effort and how much time it took after McLaren got rid of a team principal who, frankly, in that case, needed to go, right?
Yeah.
Like Ron Dennis needed to go.
He was
and
senile.
still,
He was 70 years of age.
and just he's doing a terrible job at that point anyway.
Yeah.
But even in that situation, look how long it took for McLaren to come back. Yeah. Again, Williams, you could argue, needed to go. Look how long it took for them to come back. Yeah. And then people will point out, yeah, but Red Bull has tons of money. Ferrari has unlimited money. Look how long it's taken for them to come. Oh, wait, they haven't come back yet. And people will point out,
like, talk about Mercedes.
Sure, yeah.
4 years, nothing.
And that was built on a solid foundation.
McLaren. They've been whipped by McLaren for the last 3 seasons. And just we are supposed to believe, okay, out of the blue, they'll have the power unit, and just out of magic, just because it is not ground effect error. And apparently this word ground effect error has been used as such a boogeyman by a lot of people.
But in that case, that's keeping the team principal, and it's still difficult. But they've lost a lot of key staff there.
Imagine if Toto Wolff was fired.
If Toto Wolff was fired, there would be no hope of that team turning around by 2020.
Exactly.
In fact, there's a good chance it would have been bought over because Mercedes probably would have went, well, we only own 33%. Let's start backing away from this, you know?
Exactly.
But Ferrari is the key example. Like, and again, to those people who are like, yeah, but Red Bull's this huge organization with tons of money. Again, there's just countless examples of this. The simple fact is, the way F1 teams succeed, and this is just proven time and time again, is you get a big company or a big sponsor or a big billionaire to come in, and when it starts to succeed is when they find the right people and they go, okay, Nui Cowell, for example, as right now, you guys are in charge. Here's a blank check. Come to me when you need anything. I trust you. All of a sudden, things start turning. Sauber, okay, tries to be run by the board with, a ton of money behind it for a couple of years as Audi takes over. Falls to shit. Finally, they say, Wheatley, Mattia, here's a blank check. Come to us when you need something. You guys are in charge. All of a sudden, Nico's on the fucking podium, right? You try to run things by a board, that's not going to happen. And now everyone's saying, well, Mekies has taken over, all of this, whatnot. It's like, sure. But the moment Mekies stops performing, the moment they have a 3 or 4 month, like it could be by the end of this fucking season, if things don't turn around, all of a sudden it's like, well, Mekies wasn't doing the job, so we've put someone new in. And it's going to be a continuous cycle now.
I think it's very simple. I mean, there's a very,
and I
very
like
simple way.
Mekies, by the way. I think he's a very good decision, but it's just not going to work.
It's a good decision. I don't think it's
the
a good
whole
decision.
thing's a bad decision.
Yeah.
It's just if you're picking anyone to replace, I'm glad they didn't just randomly go, oh, grab that guy. At least they've grabbed someone who has some knowledge of the situation.
I mean, there's a very simple way, and it's hilarious because I was slightly pissed when the whole thing happened, and my wife and I were having lunch, and I tried to explain it to her in a very, very simple layman language who does not follow Formula One. So here's how I did. If in common life, in general life, if you have to get 6-pack abs and you have to be fit, what do you need to do? You need to cut down on carbs. You need to start working out. You need to cut down on fats. Start
eat less shit,
eating
work out more.
protein.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So what that does is it slowly takes the fat away, and ultimately you have a good working physique. How does a Formula One team work? Just like this, you pick up first key constituents. Like you have a team, you have a leader who's a proven leader, or in case of Honor, he wasn't a proven leader. You ultimately take him, back him to the hilt, give him time so that he can get things done.
Yeah.
And that model always works. You know what doesn't? Changing people every 3 years.
Yeah.
That is what doesn't work. And first of all, I don't understand what the panic is around Red Bull. I truly do not understand this thing.
This is my whole point.
Mind-boggling right now for me.
I get it from the fans. I don't get it from Red Bull, because fans always, and we've done this, like as fans, we've done this ourselves as well, where literally 1 week, you're like, oh, Lando hit the back of Oscar. That's it. His title championship is over. And then 2 weeks later, Lando could be in on this.
Yeah.
Like we've seen this from everybody. But for a business like Red Bull to do it is like, how are you in Formula One for so long? The thing that blows my mind is
22 years or 23 years. This is the 21st season in Formula One.
Yeah.
They've been through multiple regulations. I think by this point, if you're someone who's a seasoned campaigner, you should know that ups and downs are going to happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that have happened at Red Bull, people have made it all about this guy left, that guy left. Ultimately, everything is wrong. Horner scandal, this, that. No. Ultimately, it comes down to the car. Wrong decisions were made. They were made, by the way, in 2023, Spain. You know who was part of the team at the time and was part of the development? Adrian Newey. He was there.
Here's the thing.
And apparently, Vache is shit. Enrico Balbao is shit. Newey did everything.
The simple fact is as well that at that point in time, Newey being there wouldn't have changed anything, because they were planning for the post-Newey situation.
Exactly.
They were building up for that, knowing that that was going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So regardless of whether Newey stayed or left, Newey leaving was always a very near future thing. So like the whole thing of just... it just doesn't... It's so short-sighted, because the only person who could actually turn this around, they've just kicked out the door. And I guess we should get onto Verstappen as well. Like,
for what? I mean,
for what? To keep Verstappen, which is,
it is only one
if
reason,
you're thinking
right?
short term.
Just imagine, in case we are both wrong and Verstappen and his camp has nothing to do with all of this.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, Max announces that he's going to Mercedes.
Oh, then they're totally fucked.
What the fuck is Red Bull going to do at that point? Which driver in his right mind would like to go to Red Bull that just fired one of the greatest team principals in the modern era? Who is going to go there?
Not any.
What
top
are they
figure.
going to do?
Like, there's not any top tier driver anyway.
No one.
They might be able to pull some like decent driver from the midfield, but they're not going to pull. Like my point is, if you wanted to, you could probably grab like a Pierre Gasly, who's an Alpine. You might grab a Leclerc because he's having mental breakdowns at Ferrari.
I don't think
it's very unlikely.
Red Bull anymore now. Yeah.
But honestly, though, if Verstappen leaves tomorrow, or if Verstappen does leave before the end of this season, then
Red Bull is done.
Oh no, but not even that. Then at that point, I will just have no idea what the fuck this board was thinking, because the only reason to remove Horner right now is to keep Verstappen.
Keep Max.
So if you haven't locked Verstappen down and you've let Horner go, because you keep Max and you say, right, look, if we can keep Max happy, it might give us some short-term results to figure things out, because Max can still drive the car. He still can get some wins over the season. We can save some face, right? But if Max goes and you've left Horner, you've not only killed your long-term, because now you've got to turn the whole ship around with someone who... Again, Lauren Mekias, I'm not bashing him in any terms. It's just, he's not going to be able to turn this around overnight. He's going to have to learn everything just like Horner did when he came in 2005.
By the way, just so you know, within next 6 or 8 months, Christian Horner is going to be a part of a new Formula 1 team.
Probably for 2026, because he's going to have gardening leave or whatever,
And by the way, no, he doesn't. It's
maybe
with
not.
immediate effect.
If he was fired, then fine.
Yeah.
Well, he did say in a speech, I think, that he was operationally down, but he's still here for a while. So there may be some short-term gardening leave. We don't know that yet.
in that case, by the way, just wait and watch and see how many people are going to. There are 6 people that resigned with immediate effect at that very moment when, as soon as the Honor announcement came.
There's others who are going to not sign any longer contracts. They're going to wait, and
They're looking for a way out. They already
Yeah.
had signed this thing. If you remember, there's already the entire senior management signed. It was a petition or something that if we are going to fire Horner, we are also going to leave the team.
yeah, they're going to have a
Until now,
massive
there are
brain drain
6
now.
people that have left.
Yeah.
There will be more, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is going to be the case. And it's not only the senior management or this. The engineers at Milton Keynes, they adore him like anything. He's venerated by the
Well, they're
entire
going to look at
squad.
They're going to look at a fun new project with Horner wherever he is. See, this is
Exactly.
one of the reasons why. Obviously, a lot of people jumped into Horner to Ferrari. Now, I don't think Horner is mentally insane, so I would assume he's not going to go to Ferrari because he's not going to want to trade one board for a more an
You
even
saw
worse
this
board.
thing, by the way, that was shared. One of the friend of the podcast, Sai, shared
Probably
it, that comment.
Horner and Lewis, was it?
No,
Shaking hands or
that
something?
no. The some guy commented on the Red Bull post that this
Oh
might be
yes,
something
yeah. That Horner was like looking at Ferrari basically, and then Red
Yeah.
Bull actually muted
in
comments on
2026
it.
he might end up at Ferrari.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be the case because I don't think
I'm guessing
he's-
Alpine personally.
I think Alpine will not be in that capacity, but yes. By the way, before we get to that, let's talk about one thing, which is Max Verstappen's future.
Yeah, let's talk about Max first, and then we can talk about Horner's future. Yeah.
Because okay, I personally think if the Red Bull board, if it has any semblance of, you can say,
This will be the real
acumen.
test, won't it? Because
Yes.
if
I mean,
Max
they failed the test. Let's be very
no, but sure, but if Max stays, it tells us all right. Well,
No,
as
no.
crazy as they are,
not for me. Even if he stays until 2026, it's not enough for me.
he has to be there for the long
They
term.
need to have a long-term
Yeah.
commitment because look, ultimately, what point is it? Because look, 2026 is going to suck for Red Bull anyways.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. They don't have. Maybe they might have a decent enough power unit, but already 6 months into the project, 6 months left, and the person who was heading the power unit project is gone.
And also
Horner is gone.
it's almost a certainty that a lot of key staff will start to fade away now.
They're going
because they're not going to want to stick around under new leadership, and
Yeah.
it's
Because
so,
no one is happy with the decision. I mean, I think even David Croft, they were at Milton Keynes and they said that the kind of sadness that is there right now, it's a bit
I mean,
disconcerting.
like he literally, and they're probably also pissed off as well with the situation of like when you got to think about it from the Milton Keynes point of view is last year the constructors started to fall away, which is by the way for anyone wondering that's where they get all their bonuses from is the constructors, and Horner basically convinced them all and backed them all to say right. The constructors is gone, and I know you're going to lose your bonuses, but let's all get behind Max here and get Max the Drivers' Championship. And then for the Verstappens to come in and go, oh, by the way, we don't give a fuck about that guy. Like, which is how it's going to look to them, I'm sure. A lot of them are going to look as, well,
looks
Verstappen
to-
and, yeah.
yeah.
So,
because
and
in
by
my
the way,
view,
they're
if it
probably
is
still
smart-
going to back Max, but I'm sure they're going to be quite annoyed with Yoss and the management team for this.
yeah, for sure. And if they are smart in some way, the Red Bull GmbH is actually smart, then they've probably taken a commitment from Max
I'm
that you'd be
sure.
here
They
for
have
26,
to.
27, 28. See out your contract, no more exit clauses. We are going through a storm. We will recover and get back, but we need your commitment first. If we are going to get rid of
Max
Horner,
doesn't sign that, though.
then why are you getting rid
they've,
of
they've
the
signed,
biggest?
They have signed. I guarantee you, they basically thought Max is going to Mercedes at the end of this month. Like,
So-
or not at the end. No, but I'm telling you, I'm guarantee you, this is what the board was thinking. They thought to themselves, Max is going to announce his leaving at the end of this month, right?
Yeah.
We are a board. We think 3 months in advance. That is the most insane thing. Can we get him for another year? Okay, cool. What do we need? Get rid of the boss? Yeah, sign it. Again,
If they've done
that is
If
stupidity.
they've done that,
That is stupidity,
Ferrari
but-
level stupidity.
Oh,
that's
and
actually worse.
And I guarantee you that is what they've done. This is my whole point. Like, I guarantee you
God.
that's what they've done. But it will be even worse if Max leaves at the end of the month, because then it's like, oh, you did
Yeah.
nothing.
Oh God.
Like,
oh God.
you know, like,
so there are three
oh,
possibilities, right?
yeah.
He leaves at the end of the month. He leaves
Yeah.
at the end of the
Well,
season.
by the way,
yeah.
he signs
and-
at the end of the month. He leaves next
yeah.
year, but yeah.
Yeah. The second is he leaves at the end of 2026. And
Which is
third is he
still
stays until
stupid.
2028.
If he stays until 2028, I still think it's a
I
silly
still
move.
understand. Yeah.
It's a silly move, but
I
it
understand.
will be like, okay, I get there was some thinking in this, right?
Yeah.
If he leaves at the end of 2026, it's like, I get why you did it. It was utterly stupid, but I get why you did it. If he decides he's leaving at the end of this month, then it's like what
you
the
tend
fuck
to
were
give
you
more
thinking?
grace to a lot of people.
No, I'm just
don't.
saying I can understand the thinking. I think it's
I can't.
short-sighted. No, it's short-sighted and idiotic thinking.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I can understand the thinking. I'm not saying I agree with the thinking. I'm just saying I can understand where it's coming from. Again, it
Oh,
will be
God.
very bored thinking about things because that's what
Yeah.
boards do. And this is just why boards don't work in F1 because they think in quarters, and at most a year ahead, right? If you're an F1 team, you have to be thinking about 3, 4, 5 year projects. And I've heard people come back to me with, well, obviously boards think 3 to 5 years in advance because they always have these big projects. They don't though. They put these big projects in place as kind of, oh, that's a nice
And
idea.
the CEOs continue to change and again.
That's a
and
nice
again and
idea
again.
that we have this 5-year plan. But the moment the 5-year plan isn't on track for 3 months, everything has to change.
Just look at Alpine.
Yeah.
Alpine.
How many
what was their
100
project?
race plans or whatever did they have?
They had a 100 race plan. Otmar Zafnar finished 4th in his first season. He was on track to finish 4th or 5th again.
Yeah.
But he was gone by mid-season. He didn't even last 18 months in what was supposed to be a 5-year
But
plan.
look at all of the teams who've given absolute back. Like, so for example, like if we go to just a jump here to McLaren for a minute. McLaren's turnaround happened when the board finally kind of went, okay, Zach, we believe in you. He kind of got on top. And then slowly Zach was able to kind of fix things properly.
Take time.
Yeah.
Look, Zach
and then
had such
put
a
the
big
right
problem,
people in
isn't it?
place slowly and surely. But if the board had looked at just, which is what Red Bull are doing here, look at an 18-month period, right? If you had looked at McLaren from 21 to 22 in the same way that Red Bull has looked at Red Bull from 23 to or 24 to 25, where we are now, 23, whatever, right? Then Zach would have been
Both
fired.
of them are gone. Zach is gone, Seidel is gone, Stella is
McLaren
gone.
would not be winning the championship right now.
Yeah.
So that is my whole point. Like, if F1 fans, if you're listening to this and you think, well, look at what's happened in the last 18 months, fine. But look at any team over an 18-month period, right? Especially McLaren is the prime example. Look at where McLaren were, right? From 21 to 22. You would fire Zach under the exact same reasoning. And McLaren wouldn't be winning a championship right now.
Take example of Toto Wolff. Take example of Christian Horner as well. 2014, 2015. Red Bull did not win even a single race in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
If we had the current management in place, he would have been fired by now.
Yep.
Right.
You could even say
They would
2019 to
not
2019 to 2020, right? Yes, they won a couple of races, but they were nowhere near a championship. It had been 5 or 6 years since the championship. They fire Christian Horner at that point. Newey is basically gone. Things start to go away. Max doesn't win 21, 22, 23, 24. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
The whole thing. So it's just so short-sighted. You know?
Yeah. Now, tell me
They
something.
literally
'Cause
won the championship last year. Like, what?
6 months back. Not even last 6 months back. In 6 months, you are firing the
They've
man
got the second fastest car right now, on average. Like, this is ridiculous. And by the way, for anyone who says, "Oh, it's not the second fastest car; it's the 9th fastest car," Max is actually winning.
That's what I'm going to
just
say. Fuck
idiotic.
you.
Because
Enough.
they're the same
I've had
people who
this
went
discussion so many times.
They're the same people who went on Saturday. Look at Red Bull's genius of Max and Red Bull's genius putting that lower rear wing
Not
on,
Max
and then
and
on
Red Bull's,
Sunday,
Max's genius.
Yeah, and then on Sunday, what the fuck were Red Bull thinking? Put that lower rear wing on. Well, hold on, I thought Max was the reason the car is fast. So you're now telling me that Max can't change how fast the car is? Like, it's just.
Yeah.
I can't believe the fans and the board are thinking the same.